Good to have you with us. Now, the police service has withdrawn a suit to restrain the Alliance for Responsible Citizens, AFRC, from going ahead with their planned demonstration. According to the police, the withdrawal is because the circuit court of which the case was being heard is the wrong forum. AFRC had planned to demonstrate against the National Communications Authority, NCA, over sanctions imposed on some 131 radio stations across the country. But the police asked for some last-minute changes to the route after earlier granting the approval. The police is citing insufficient personnel to cover the proposed route. We'll be staying within the court because the police has withdrawn another case, and this is one against Indian businessman Ashok Sivaram, and that has been a case in contention over months where Ashok Sivaram took the police and the Ghana Immigration Service to court. But let's now take you to Parliament, because the minority in Parliament is demanding that the President gives Ghanaian ambassador to South Africa, George A.C. Boateng, his marching papers after statements he made over the weekend in Kumasi. Our man on the ground is Latif Idris. Let's join him now. Latif, we understand the press conference has not begun yet, but what has been happening in Parliament today?
Yeah, the press conference, like you rightly put it, hasn't started. We expect that to start in the next few minutes because everything is set. We're only waiting for the minority to walk into the conference room, and then we would hear what they have to say on the Ghana ambassador to South Africa and also on the state of the economy. Now, but back to what is happening on the floor of Parliament today. Today's business essentially has to do with the Communications Ministry and the Attorney General's Ministry, because with the Attorney General, we are looking at the Office of the Special Prosecutors Bill. That is one of the critical issues as we speak. Is at the consideration stage on the floor of Parliament, where the House is going through to correct some of the phrases in that bill as well. Now, if you move from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, we have the Communication Minister is expected to appear on the floor of Parliament to answer these questions. I would like to run quickly through some of the questions the Communication Minister is expected to answer. The first question will be asked by Dr. Clement A. Apak, who is the MP for Builsa South. The question is for the Communication Minister to answer as to what steps are being taken to improve mobile telephony in remote parts of his constituency. Now, one critical question that would be asked on the floor today to the Communications Minister will be coming from Alhassan Suhuyini, who is the Member of Parliament for Tamale North. This has to do with, call drops and network problems across the country. So Alhassan Suhuyini will be asking the Minister of Communication, what are the remedies for people who experience call drops, call breaks, network congestion, and internal interruption from telecommunications service providers? This is not only limited to the constituency of the Member of Parliament, but it's an issue that has come up across the country. So the MP will take his chance today to put that question to the Communications Minister to find answers to some of these worrying questions in the telecommunication industry. Back to you, Daniel.
Right, thank you, Latif, for those updates from Parliament, and would still come for that minority press conference. But I'll ask that you stay on the line for us, Latif, because this week we've been dealing with an issue that you have brought to fore, issues dealing with lapses in Ghana's land administration system and the ensuing fights and litigations that have come up, giving rise to a situation where landowners engage the services of armed men to protect their lands. Their job is to guard their lands against encroachment, entities or individuals who may lay claim to the land, and there are several gangs of land guards throughout the country. Now, like I mentioned, Latif Idris, who is currently in Parliament, is the one who has been finding out about the operations of these land guards as part of our latest Hotline documentary, Land Wars.
Fire him! Fire him! Fire Shut him! Shut him! Shut him! Shut him! Shut him!
There's a sound warning that I'm giving to people who are encroaching on government vested lands, that those people, the law will not forgive them.
It's a whole mess. You are paying for a legitimate document, but paying more than the government-approved fees.
The Lands Commission has a vision to become the center of excellence for land services delivery, with the mission to provide high-quality, reliable, and efficient services in geographic information, guaranteed tenure, property valuation, surveying and mapping through teamwork, and modern technology to stakeholders. But this is just fine English that makes the Lands Commission look good, because the myriad of problems in Ghana's land management system is very worrying.
If they conjure to come up with a fraudulent document and our investigation does not disclose that fraud, then the courts can set them aside, and the courts have set some of them aside. Because if you collude to present a fraudulent document to us, we investigate and nothing reveals that the thing is fraudulent. Later it is found that the thing is fraudulent. But as far
is it then to suggest that the commission doesn't do due diligence?
Oh, we do due diligence as much as possible, but you know fraud can exist anywhere.
And that is Lateef Idris's work there. Very stimulating stuff. It's been playing on the Joy News channel. So Lateef, how difficult was it to put all of this together?
Yeah, Daniel, thank you for the question. Very difficult, but I must say it's not the most difficult adventure I've taken as far as putting together documentaries are concerned. If you consider the fact that we would have to travel across the regions, that should give you an understanding of how difficult it was going on the ground, visiting chiefs, visiting Lands Commission, regional offices, to understand how they are also facing their own challenges as to how to, sanitize Ghana's land management space. It was a difficult adventure, but not the most difficult, Daniel.
Now, you're mentioning challenges that some of these officials have to face, and the Lands Commission bosses that you've been speaking with have been outlining some of these. From what you observed, what can be done to sanitize this land administration space?
Yeah, about the Land Commission, it's a multifaceted challenge or problem, if you like, with the Lands Commission. One of the challenges that came up, in my travels, has to do with personnel. Now, resources, we have personnel of the Lands Commission and also equipment to work with. They face the challenge of inadequate human resource at the various survey and mapping departments across the country. Now, one of the issues has to do with equipment. Now, if you even have the personnel and you do not have the equipment to work with, that is a challenge on its own. Now, if you have the equipment and you don't have the personnel, that's also another challenge. So they face these two challenges: inadequate human resource at the various survey and mapping divisions of the Lands Commission, one, and also do not have enough resources or equipment to work with. These are some of the few challenges these commissions face. Now, they've made the appeal as to whether government will yield and provide them with the needed resources to work with is also another issue they would have to deal with, Daniel.
From what they are saying, the provision of these resources would be enough to sanitize the land administration space in Ghana?
Of course, once they get that, it wouldn't solve the problem completely. It will partly take away the challenges we are facing, the chaos within the land administration system. Now, the Lands Commission doesn't work alone when it comes to land administration. They work directly with the chiefs, with the clans, and with the family. They own the lands within the country. There are vested lands as well, but chunk of the land in this country are vested in the chiefs and the clans. So it's a work the Lands Commission do with the chiefs and the clans. Now, if you get the Lands Commission to have adequate equipment, adequate human resource, then dealing with these traditional authorities and chiefs and clans would be much easier. if you appreciate. And so, yes, it wouldn't solve the problem completely, but partly it will reduce some of the chaos we've seen in the country's land administration system, where we have land guards who have not taken over, I mean, the role of protecting private lands, stool lands, and clan lands. If we have the Lands Commission working out to ensure that once you go to the Lands Commission and you put in the search, you'll be able to identify who owns what lands. I think that will largely help to fix some of these challenges we face.
Great points there, Lateef Idris. Thanks for the work you've done. We'll come back to you in Parliament when the minority begins that news conference. But in the meantime, let's deal with some other issues of importance here. And shortages in vaccines that fight the 6 childhood killer diseases has often had dire consequences for child health in Ghana. The country is close to reaching universal access in immunization for all children, but several others, especially in hard-to-reach communities, are being left behind. In the following report, my colleague Justice Beidou reports on how vaccine shortages put the lives of thousands of children on the line.
Okay, so that's 12.4.
This baby is in pain, heavily malnourished, crying for help.
No, you can. I can be okay.
The mother, looking on, has had to walk for nearly 2 hours to reach this health center, where vaccines for children like hers are being administered. Biro, the community where this health center is located, like many in rural Ghana, is heavily impoverished. It's tough getting medical essentials like vaccines that fight the 6 childhood killer diseases here. Vaccines have proven their worth in saving the lives of hundreds of thousands of children across the country. Take the story of Biro, for example. No child under age 5 has died here since 2015. Now, for a region that has one of the highest child mortality rates, that is huge progress. But now there are major challenges that means accessing the vaccines themselves is a problem. Centers like these where they are administered are few and far in between. Sometimes even the money to purchase them is a problem. And so communities like Biro would have to wait.
Sometimes we have to cross a river before reaching the health center. Some mothers have more than one child who should be immunized, but because of the distance, you can't take all of them, so it's difficult to come all the time.
If the child falls below this red,
Sunyoro Patrick, the health assistant here, tells of the impact vaccines have made in keeping children alive.
Because of the immunization, now they don't visit the clinic often with their sick children, and then those days we see children that are suffering from polio and other things, then their children are deformed. For now, it has been very helpful to them and their families, so they don't get some of those sickness. And then the TB, for instance, now we don't get children having a TB. If the vaccines are not available, we will get a lot of outbreaks, especially the meningitis.
9 out of every 10 children in Ghana are now covered by vaccination against the 6 childhood killer diseases. But no child should be left behind. What is most worrying is that efforts at reaching every single child in Ghana with these life-saving vaccines have stagnated for years. Every day of delay means another child is at risk of a preventable death. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Biro in the Upper West region.
Now let's talk about food now, because cassava has over time been considered a low-value crop. Some people even refer to the tuber crop as a poor man's staple. Agricultural experts, however, say the commercial potential of the cassava remains largely untapped. Cassava is critical to food security in Africa as the main source of nutrition for approximately half of Africa's population. The crop is critical for food security on the continent. Today on Joy News, Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin takes us to Apinting in the Ofinso North district of the Ashanti region. He tells the story of a family of cassava farmers which is just about harvesting the drought-resistant crop amid challenges.
45-year-old Ajua Dasa is home today doing laundry of the family's clothes. From a distance, she looks strong. A few steps closer to her reveal a weak and limping figure. Ajua got pierced by a trunk of sapling or young tree pierced Ajua whilst working on the farm about a month ago.
I was returning from the farm when the trunk pierced me. I didn't feel the pains, but now I bleed every day.
Since then, the mother of 7 has been at home. Such accidents are rampant among farmers, especially in rural areas where they use cutlasses and hoes. Some even become barren for life in their quest to produce to feed the country. At the time of my visit, Ajua's husband, Mr. Dasa, had already left for farm. We, together with some members of the family, set off for the farm to see things for ourselves. It took us close to 30 minutes on a motorbike. On arrival, we met Mr. Dasa, who had been working tirelessly to finish the day's task on his cassava farm. His wife's absence is certainly a worry. I am the only one working here now. Sometimes I have to seek for the services of laborers to assist me. Her presence could have helped me finish my work on time. For 15 years, Mr. Dasa and his family have been cultivating cassava on this over 30-acre land on a lease for which he pays 200 Ghana cedis annually for an acre. 1 acre of land costs 200 Ghana cedis annually. If you can't pay, then you share the proceeds of the farm with the owner of the land. Dasa is one of many farmers who have dedicated their efforts, especially to cassava cultivation. He tells Joy News he decided to invest in cassava cultivation after careful reflection. With all the difficult manual work known as manpower, long distances of walking to and from the farm to produce loads of cassava, he earns very little. Averagely, Dasa makes 6,000 Ghana cedis, which he says breaks his heart. 50 million, 70 million. Sometimes I make 6,000 Ghana cedis or even 7,000 Ghana cedis, but because we don't take records of the expenses we make, we don't even know how much we invest at the end of the season. 200,000. Here at Apinting and other communities, vehicles hardly come, which means Dasa has difficulty transporting his farm produce to market centers. Weeds, stray animals, and lack of storage facilities combine to add to his headache of post-harvest losses. In such situation, produce is sold early, but at very low price. These crops are ready for harvest, but Dasa has to wait for a request from potential buyers who are coming from nowhere. Now my cassava is ready for harvest, but there are no potential buyers. Despite the challenges, Dasa has educated 4 of his children up to the second cycle level. Eric Dasa is one of them. Eric is determined to pursue further education. He wants to acquire more knowledge in agriculture so he can venture into modern ways of farming.
For me, I did agric. Yeah, that's why I said if I am able to go ahead into agric, that is why I can learn more. Then I can know the skills.
Why did you study agric in the first place?
Yeah, because of the work. When I was around 6 years, but everything in my mind was that I like to do farming.
Persistent drop in farmer income due to unfavorable condition is a food security risk in addition to mal and undernutrition. Dasa's family can be a victim. Poor yield and nutritional quality are important factors for household and national food security. Dasa and other smallholder farmers who produce about 158 tons of cassava, more than half of the world's total to feed 500 million people, continue to struggle. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
Those look like some tasty tubers of cassava. But doing business in Ghana could be a challenge. But one physically challenged person is braving the odds to eke out a living from the sale of coconuts. Today we follow the story of Emmanuel, who sells coconuts on the streets of Accra, and how the Ghana Federation for the Disabled is working to improve the livelihoods of its members.
When you're weak, I'll be strong. When you let go, I'll hold on.
Owning a business or getting a job can be a challenge for anyone. But there are many more difficulties with starting a business or maintaining a job when you are disabled. Emmanuel has been wheelchair bound for as long as he can recall, but he operates his own coconut selling business.
Oh, Misha Sefi, Nekurasi. Now first, now Kubangwa.
I started from my village where I produced coconut oil. But at a point in time, I wasn't getting the type I needed for production. So I started distributing the fleshy part to people who were selling coconut. They began mishandling my money, which I didn't like. It took quite a time to get my returns. I decided to look for a place to begin the coconut selling all by myself. My revenue is doing well. It's not enough, but I am okay. At the end of the month, I am able to make about 300 Ghana cedis. It may not be enough, but I am comfortable with what I have.
In addition to normal business expenses, Emmanuel explains he experiences other hardships due to his disability.
I wake up around 4 a.m. to get to the market for the coconuts. I always struggle with my competitors. They underestimate me because I'm in a wheelchair, but I try to get a little. The drivers also don't treat me well because I am in a wheelchair. I sometimes stand at the roadside for an hour without a car. I get help from my wife in setting up the place.
Tax exemptions on business are one of the laws pertaining to disabled persons in business. But whether these laws work in Ghana is a question we ask. Often, people with disabilities are underrepresented in the world of entrepreneurship and usually experience a high unemployment rate. The 2010 population and housing census puts the population of disabled persons at 15 to 20%, and 3% of them are severe conditions. That explains that over 15% are able to fit within the working category, but the statistics don't reflect.
When you're weak, I'll be strong. When you let go, I'll hold on. And when you need
Certainly a brave man there, but if Emmanuel was in some parts of Kumasi, he could be facing some trouble because the Kumasi Traditional Council has teamed up with the KMA to relocate traders occupying pavements and unauthorized areas in Kumasi. The move is in line with an eviction notice served by the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council calling for vacation of such areas by Monday. The arrangement also precedes the final funeral rites of the late Asantehene Efia Kobi Sewa Ampim II. Nana Aljima was at a meeting between representatives of Otumfuo, the KMA mayor, and transport operators.
The movement of traders at some parts of Edum, Kejetia, Pampaso and the zoo area is expected to start on Monday. They are to be assigned new spaces at the racecourse and Abinchi markets. Some traders have been pleading for an extension of time. They insist transport unions are made to join them at the newly designated areas. But in a closed-door meeting with city authorities and the Kumasi Traditional Council, authorities say they have agreed to move. The relocation has the endorsement of the Menchia Palace. Otumfuo's Maria Hene, Balfour Brentio Shiamine, says the evacuation will clear the central business district for the final funeral rites of the late Queen Mother of Ashanti.
Especially the routes that will, pass through for the full rituals that we will do, starting from Pampaso to Menchia. We would want to make sure that all the passageways are free for us, to ride, with all our retinues and what have you. People will be coming down to Kumasi, and we need Kumasi to look as neat as possible. KMA has taken it upon itself to make sure that sanitation and all other things are well catered for.
Chief Executive of Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, Osei SB Entry, says the race course and Abinchi markets are ready to receive the traders.
KMA has taken it upon ourselves. We have prepared the place, and the place is far better than where they used to work now. The traders have visited the site, inspected the sites. The drivers too have also visited the site.
He reveals the evacuation will also pave way for the completion of the first phase of the Kumasi Central Market project.
We are not moving them because of the funeral. As has been discussed with them. The contractor is late by 6 good months. It has taken the contractor 6 months in having access to the roads. And it's a contract. He's also paying his workers. He has been on us. He has written as many as 6 letters demanding for the access of the place. And now, for how long can we hold on to his request without granting it?
Transport operators present at the meeting pledged their support for the exercise on Monday. Nana Nimaku Bresiama spoke for the transport operators.
It is why we now confirm race course. Now,
if you should place a rickety vehicle at Kejetia and an aeroplane at race course, people will still go to Kejetia for various reasons. It is very true. So if the assembly is relocating us, they should ensure that we all move. It will fail if some continue to work at Kejetia.
Reporting for Joy News, Nanaya Ojima.
Back to Accra now, where an 11-year-old girl who was defiled 2 weeks ago in Kaneshie is now battling to get her life back to normal after the incident happened 2 weeks ago. Mother of the girl says she was out selling in the night when the suspect, a family friend, entered the unlocked room to defile her daughter. Mother of the girl is also alleging the investigator who was working on the case was part of a meeting ostensibly to get her to withdraw the case from the police station to be settled at home. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba with the mother of the victim in Kaneshie.
My child was asleep there too, and I was outside selling around 9:30 p.m. What happened? She said she was asleep. She don't know what happened, but she saw the guy putting his penis, and I said, "Oh, okay." So I was like, I didn't believe what my child was saying. So I was questioning her over and over and over again. She said, yes, this is not the first time she saw it. The first time she was asleep, she thought it was a dream. She saw someone, like she was dreaming like someone has put their hand in her vagina, and she's like, she woke up in the dream. She saw the guy's face, but she thought it was a dream, so she slept again. So this time she opened the eye and she saw the guy again, and it's like 2 times. So it's like she have seen the same person twice. So she couldn't sleep again. And she saw the guy standing in the room. And she was like struggling with the guy, but she was afraid the guy would do something to her. So she couldn't shout.
Where were they sleeping?
In my room.
in this room?
Yes.
Do you lock it before you go out?
Fine, I'm selling and I close very late in the night and they go to school around 5:30 in the morning. So when they sleep, normally I lock. But now when I'm locking, the key is not working. So usually they lock it behind. Then when I come, I'll call them. But due to that, they'll be complaining, Ma, I'm sleeping, I'm feeling sleepy and you are waking me up. So I just close it this way. Then when I come, no one knows I have locked it or not. But when I come, I just push the door and I enter the room. And I questioned the guy that very Friday night, and he accepted that, yes, he came here. And the first time it was like he didn't sleep with her, but he fingered her. And so this is the second time that he slept with her. She's not feeling well at all. She's discharging, and each and every day she has to change pad twice a day. Even when she's feeling urinate, she will not feel like urinating. By the time she will be sitting down, you realize she have urinated. I don't know. Even when she wants to go to the toilet, she will not feel it. She even fell down 3 days today, the bathhouse. I don't know what's wrong with her. Yeah. My dad said what he would say is fine now. So he would talk to me, and then the CID in question was sitting down. The CID was sitting down with me and my dad and other relatives, and then the guy's family members. And it was like they should bring 3,500.
Who said it?
My dad said they should ask me the amount I have spent in the hospital. And I said, yes, I have spent a lot. I spent about 1,500, almost 1,500 in the hospital. And they said, okay, they'll pay that amount and then compensate the girl with 2,000. That's the guy's father. He said he will compensate the girl with 2,000. My father said it's okay. They should bring the money so that we finish everything at the police station. And I said, I'm not taking any money from anyone. I will not sell my child's pride. Yeah. The CID was sitting with us when we were saying all this. That we would withdraw the case, and then after withdrawing, they should bring the 3,500 so that we finish everything at the police station.
So this discussion was at the police station?
Yes, at the DOFSU department, Kaneshie.
And the police officer did not say anything? So all of this discussion happened at the DOFSU office?
Yes. My dad said I should go and type withdrawal letter. And I said, from where? And the CID directed me. Kaneshie post office. There are people there. And I said, how? I asked the CID how I will type the letter. And she said, if I go there and I talk to the typewriters, I should just tell them I have a defilement case at a police station and I want to withdraw the case. They will just type it for me. Then I sign. So I was about to go and I said, no, I will not take any money. I will not withdraw this case. So she was like, I should go and type the letter and bring it. She sent someone to come and call me to bring the letter in a hurry. And I told the person, no, I was on phone. So I told the person, I'm coming. I went and she said, where is the letter? And I said, oh, madam, please, I have not typed it. And she said, why? I should type it there. Her boss is looking for the letter. And I said, no, even if I type the letter, I will not sign. And I told her the things I will type in the letter, I don't think any police personnel will take and read and he or she will accept it.
Now, the mother of the victim you just heard made some allegations about the investigator who was handling the case. We've been trying to reach the said investigator, but we've been unsuccessful. We'll bring you more on this in our subsequent bulletins. Stay tuned to Joy News as we bring you more of these stories as we continue our campaign to stop the menace and also seek justice for the victims. Remember, the hashtag is Justice for Kids. And that's it for this bulletin of Joy News today. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Daniel Daze. Thanks for joining us.